Hi, I'm Shauna. This is Shauna's World. Welcome back to my channel where I focus on living well, physically, mentally and spiritually. I have just had the most wonderful weekend at an event called Reboot run by Traverse. It was around content creation, creativity and wellness. And it really was a whole weekend focusing on living well and creating well. There was so much sharing and vulnerability and openness, and then also just a lot of fun. I ran a breathwork session at the event and I really enjoyed that. It went down well. There were some really powerful experiences and it was a real privilege to be able to hold that and bring breathwork to a new audience. It's one of my favourite things to do. So the conference took place in Hamburg and I'm staying in the Altona district. And as there were some incredibly skilled content creators at the event, we had a tremendous amount of support from the Hamburg Tourism Board. There've been a lot of opportunities to engage with the city and see different angles and experiences and food. And I've really enjoyed the city and it's been good to see it from a different angle than just a tourist as when I came before. Having people with insider knowledge introduce you to the highlights and their highlights and different things I wouldn't usually do. Anyway, I digress. What I wanted to say is that often a city, particularly a big city like Hamburg, has its absolute highlights and the bits that I personally engage more with further outside of the city. For me, cities are great, love Hamburg, but it's all about the nature spaces. So I'm really excited that the Hamburg Tourist Board are taking us out of Hamburg today to a rural area to experience some nature, some small town vibes, and see some of the parts of Germany that really connect me with that notion of living well and what I feel called to see and experience and of course make content about. And I hope it gives some inspiration to come to this part of Germany, but not just stay in Hamburg, and to explore some of the outer regions and the more natural spaces, the small towns and the places you might not even have heard of, but are really pretty special. It's a lovely sunny day and I'm here in Lüneburg. Lüneburg. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I really struggle with some of the German place names. But we're here with the Hamburg Tourist Board. We're going to be doing some exploring. It was about an hour on the train from Hamburg. Nice train journey with some good views out the window. And I'm looking forward to exploring. I love this. Look at all those very traditionally German buildings. Here is the Rathaus, the town hall, and I always remember that word from school German and our German teacher Mrs. Walter teaching us about buildings, and the Rathaus, yeah, it's a good word.
Moin.
This is Klaus. Guten Morgen, Klaus.
The main facade design between the early 1500s and the arrival of Baroque style. Kind of roof, this style, 600 years ago, you would find this in many of the Hanseatic towns.
In the 16th century, Lüneburg was the kind of main town in the area. I think it was the centre. There was pretty much no Hamburg, and now Lüneburg's like population 80,000 and Hamburg's 1.8 million. But back then, Lüneburg was much bigger than Hamburg. So yeah, I think the locals are very proud of that. So apparently they have this story here in Lüneburg, and I can't remember exactly, so I'm not going to do it justice. But essentially, they love salt here. Salt was like their main thing. We were actually going to go to a salt museum today, but we didn't because of COVID. But there was, back in the day, long time ago, there was a boar and it was killed and it got covered in salt, so it was white. And this is the shoulder bones of that boar, and it's like Lüneburg legend. That was a really interesting jaunt around the town hall, and it just reminded me, I mean, I never do things like town halls or public buildings anymore when I'm travelling. I just kind of decided it's not something I'm like, that's my favourite thing to explore, so I always focus on nature or just walking around or being active or cafes and restaurants. But that was so interesting, and it's just a reminder that when you have a good tour guide, even things that aren't your kind of main highlight can be really exciting, and he really brought it to life. Tourism is kind of the biggest industry in Lüneburg at the moment. They also film a kind of daily, it sounds like a soap TV program here, so there's a lot of domestic tourism.
Ist aufgegangen, die goldenen Sternlein prangen am Himmel hell und klar. Der Wald steht schwarz und schweigend.
The song you just heard, which I thought was lovely, is a lullaby by a composer. He's not well known. I hadn't heard of him. I think his name was Schultz. I forgot the guide said. So Lüneburg has never been destroyed in a war. It used to be surrounded by walls, thick walls, but lots of the buildings that stand here today are buildings that have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years, which I think is pretty amazing given Germany's history of war.
Monument, it's a museum, and it's a wonderful picture spot. Take the lift.
Ah, great. Okay, that's what I was waiting for. Smiling again.
So I'm on the top of a water tower. It's really beautiful, and I forget what the height is, but it's pretty high up. But here you can see the church in the background, and there's an amazing legend to this church. So it was built by a steeple builder, and he was commissioned to do it by a bishop, and then he went in and built it, and then the bishop was like, oh, the steeple's leaning, I'm not paying you for this. And yeah, he was devastated. It absolutely ruined him, and he went and decided he was going to try and jump out of the window and end his life, which is really sad. So he went up the tower and went to jump out the window, but as he jumped and tried to end his life, a hay wagon went underneath and he did not die. He was saved by the hay wagon, and then he was like, screw this, can't, like, my life is ruined. And then he went to a bar to drink himself into oblivion, because he was like, this is the one thing I can do best, and he fell off his bar stool drunk and died. This story is not true, so we think. It's a legend, it's an urban myth, but it is part of the history. Like, everyone knows this story in Lüneburg, everyone tells this story, and I think it's a great story. So we cheated on the way up and got the lift, but we're taking the stairs down, and it goes right through the old water tank that used to hold 500,000 litres of water. It's pretty cool. I really love it here. It's just a lovely atmosphere, very laid back, beautiful, beautiful town. And I was just thinking, I love nature and wandering around and all of that. Nowadays, I wouldn't necessarily choose a city break, and I probably wouldn't have come to Hamburg, like, unless I had a reason to. And I've loved it, but I came for the conference. But coming here, I would come all the time. Like, yeah, I'd come for a holiday here, and maybe a trip exploring, like, Greater Hamburg and the towns around it. So this crane, which lifts goods in and out of the river, is operated by what looks like a giant hamster wheel. And back in the day when it was operational, they used to employ four men, always it was men, but I would do this job, to run basically on the hamster wheel, and that would facilitate the crane lifting things in and out of the water. That is like my dream job. You're just getting paid to run all day, and apparently it was a very good, respectable job. They were very skilled at what they did. I would love that. It's like being a professional athlete, but it's actually really functional. So yeah, I'm on board with that. This beautiful tree-lined walkway we're on now is actually the fortification of the city, the old walls that used to surround Lüneburg. So they were taken down in the 17-somethings, I'm terrible with dates, because they realised that, you know, there were wars and things, but the technology was getting so good even back then that the walls weren't keeping anyone out. Like, if someone had a cannon, they could take the wall out. And so they took down the walls, and then they built new houses out of the materials for the walls, which I just think is so cool. It's the ultimate sustainability. Even back then, you know, reuse and repurpose and all of this. None of this new materials. a not insignificant number of steps, but we have been rewarded with a very nice tree-covered view. So this used to be a fortress. There was a castle on top of the hill, and then once, many years ago, all the citizens of the town stormed the hill and destroyed the castle. I think the guide said the hill used to be 30 meters higher as well, and it's been, yeah, some of that's been taken off. This is such a beautiful space at the bottom of the hill, and you can hear birds, and it's just, yeah, my nervous system has just calmed immensely being surrounded by trees. And we're just, you can still see the buildings, we're just right by the town, but it's a lovely little nature spot in the middle. Way! Yes, I'm in my happy place now, but it's surrounded by trees, tall, beautiful pine trees, and we're going to do a treetop walkway thing. The place is called Heide Himmel. Yeah, it's really my kind of vibe. These trees are wild, they're so tall. I think they're Scots pine. There's nothing about the species. I've got a fact sheet here, but it's all about the walkway and the tower, not about the trees. And trees are kind of my shebang, but I'm just gonna soak it all up. I can hear the birds so clearly and beautifully. The trees are tall and overwhelming and magical, and you know, I've really enjoyed the last few days in Hamburg, but it is a very concrete city. There's a lot of green space in Hamburg, but I haven't been around a lot of it, so it's just really nice to immerse in this and take a few breaths with the trees. So magical up here. Just the sound of the birds, I always talk about it, but the sound of the birds makes me so happy, and just being at the top of the trees with the birds, yeah, soaking it all up. And there's quite a lot of wildlife here, but I think some of it's captivity. Like there was a badger in a kind of big cage, and there were deer kind of fenced up, and I didn't know there was animal tourism here before coming, but if you are going to come here, look into it a bit more. But it's a really special place, and like, yeah, the animals that are here don't seem unhappy or anything, but yeah, if you have anything against animals in captivity, I think it's important to do your research, make sure you're comfortable with where you're coming and what you're supporting. I just checked on my Seek plant identification app, and they are Scots pine. I did get that right. Race you. Nice to see an absolute sea of trees, the lungs of the earth, putting oxygen back into the environment for us. So the main bit of the walkway is 21 meters above ground level, and then you go up at the end to a tower, and that is, I think it was 46 meters above the ground. You're right above the trees and can just look down on them in awe of everything they do for us. So we're on the way back from Heide Himmel back to Hamburg, and I really enjoyed the place. I enjoyed the trees and the birds and all of that. I just wanted to say a bit more on the animals in captivity, because I think, yeah, I think it's worth exploring, because I didn't know about it before, and I really don't feel good about animals in captivity, but I just want to recognise it is a more complex issue than that. And I know a lot of animals need to be kept in captivity because they can't conservation charity or a for-profit organisation. I'm going to look that up when I get back. But yeah, I think it's really important to reflect on these things and always be questioning it when you are seeing animals in the wild, whether you're comfortable with it. And those comfort levels are going to be different for everyone, and it's not for me to dictate what is right and what is wrong. I'm glad I went. It was a good thing. It was a good day. Love the walkway, love the trees, and I'm looking forward to getting back into Hamburg, back to the hotel to unwind. A really enjoyable day getting out of Hamburg city and exploring some of the metropolitan area. Something I'd do again. It's something I would like to do more of with all of the other areas. I know the Hamburg Tourist Board offered some other kind of adventures and trips to other areas around Hamburg, and I would love to come back and soak up a bit more of it. I also know Hamburg itself has so many parks, because I was looking at it on the map and there's so much green space, but I barely touched on that in the few days I've been here. So I feel like Hamburg is somewhere I would love to live. I mean, in the morning to be in the bustling energy of the Hauptbahnhof, and then in the afternoon just to be in the trees on this walkway, just soaking up the smell of pine and the sound of birds. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. So I'd really like to come back and feel more of the nature in the area. And it's really encouraged me to do a bit more Googling around Germany, because it is so accessible by train and it does have such wonderful nature spaces. There's no reason I couldn't come back again for a bit longer or explore a different part of it. And I like having the opportunity to use my very, very rusty German. It's been such a lovely few days all round. Loved reconnecting with Hamburg, loved reconnecting with nature, loved reconnecting with myself and people at Traverse, and yeah, it was just spectacular. It's so full now. Thank you so much for watching. I've really appreciated having you here. It means a lot that people actually watch my videos and enjoy them and engage with them. So thank you for being here. If you did enjoy it, I'd really appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. It gives the channel support so other people might be able to find it and benefit from the things I'm creating. And if you enjoy the content and, you know, don't find me too irritating or anything, I would really recommend you subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be making more videos. I'm super inspired with content at the moment. I'm hoping to put more out soon. And if you have any questions about the area I've been, or if you've been here yourself and have any tips on Greater Hamburg, please leave them in the comments below, because I know other people will benefit from them. I bet there are going to be people finding this video who are coming to Hamburg, who are looking for things to do outside of Hamburg. So for those people, yes, Lüneburg, yes, Heide Himmel, but yeah, also leave comments if you have been to the area for things to suggest for other people to find on the channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much to the people at Hamburg Ahoy for making us so welcome here. And I'm sure I'll see you in another video soon. Okay, cheers!